Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening as we host this budget town hall. It may feel like we're too early to be thinking about the fiscal year that's going to start on July 1st, 2026, but I can tell you that for our staff, this has been something that's been front of mind for a couple of months. And now we're at the point in the process where we think it's important to incorporate some of the voices of the community into those discussions. I am Michael O'Connor. I'm the mayor of the city of Frederick, and I'm also pleased that in the room this evening we have council members Derek Shackelford and Libby Taylor, council members at large, and council member Sarah Hempel-Irani, who is the council district member for District 5. We've done 5 of these, 1 in each district. Before you say it, we know that we're not technically in District 5 in the moment, but we're a stone's throw away. Councilmember Hempel-Irani will do better next year, I promise. I would offer any of the council members an opportunity to say anything before we get started if they would like to. Please.
I would just like to say that I am so happy that everyone's here. And, one of the things that I loved most about the campaign was meeting people at the door and listening to concerns and praises and hopes for the city. And I'm hoping that this kind of forum can bring more of that conversation to light. And I'm really excited to get to work on these things. So I'm Sarah, I'm your neighbor, and if you need anything, now I'm at City Hall, so make sure you are in touch. Thanks.
What we really want to use this evening to do is to provide a brief overview of the city's budget process. It's not intuitive. Nobody wakes up one day and says, oh, I know how city budgeting works. We want to make sure that people kind of understand the timeline that we're walking through. But really the most important thing for this evening is for us to hear from you. I know it's early in the process. There isn't even a proposed budget yet, but you may have thoughts and ideas about areas of emphasis that you want to see the city incorporate into its budget. At the very end of this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about how the typical budget dollar gets spent in the city today. It gives you a good overview of how your tax dollars get spent year in and year out, but it's important as we get into this process that we're hearing from the community about what is important to them. This November and December timeframe is this opportunity to hear from the community about the budget before the budget is actually created. So it's another data point as we're looking at building a proposed budget to present to the council in the spring, and ultimately as they go into their deliberations and adopt something before the start of the fiscal year. Internally, and this feels like it happens almost immediately after the prior year's budget has been put to bed, our departments are thinking about what the budget for subsequent years needs to look like. When you really dive into the nitty-gritty of the documents that we work with every day, you can see that our staff are, in many respects, thinking many years at a time. They present to us a lot of priorities, knowing that not all of those priorities are going to get funded, but they do it in such a way that you can get an idea of the projects, the equipment, the programs that they think are 1, 2, or potentially 3 years away by putting it on our radar as a part of our budget process. So they're in the process now. They have a hard deadline of December 31st to submit their budget requests at a department level into the system that we use to begin that process of building the budget that we will present to the council. Once we receive those, we'll begin setting up meetings in early January and through February with departments and managers to talk about their prioritized lists and to really get an understanding, one, to understand anything that we don't understand about what they're asking for, but really to dive into their priorities. I could look at a list of projects coming from Public Works or the Planning Department or the Police Department and say, well, this seems pretty important. Why is this other thing more important from your prioritized list, and it's just a good opportunity to have those conversations at that staff level as we're thinking about what we're going to do. Effectively by the end of February, because of the time that it takes logistically to just put the budget document together, we have to be done with a lot of those meetings. The month of March is really spent by the budget staff taking what we've decided are going to be the items that are going to make up that proposed budget and letting them do what they need to do to put that into a form and a function that we can present to the council on April 1st. The charter requires us to submit a budget to the council by April the 1st. And we have done that over the last couple of years by giving them a giant document that has all of the numbers in it, and by doing a budget message to the community that highlights the areas in the budget that we think are most important. Prior to that April 1st deadline, the council will also have the opportunity to actually establish their budget workshop or hearing schedule that they want to use to do that. We don't dictate to the council the pace that they do that, how many meetings there needs to be. That is entirely in their hands. They get to organize those meetings as they see fit, and we'll be there to present the proposed budget and have the appropriate department in the room to have the conversations and answer the questions that the council has about what we've presented. In that May-June timeframe, that's when the final decisions have to be made. We need to approve a tax rate by the end of May. We have to submit that to the county by around May the 20th. They are our agent for mailing property tax bills out to the residents, and we have to give them the number that they have to include as the property tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year by that time. The council is required to approve a budget, to approve a tax rate, and to approve an administrative fee schedule by a certain date. That's all done by simple majority. With 7 council members now, that simple majority is 4. It was 3 previously. The budget has to be adopted by the council by June 20th. For whatever reason, the council does not adopt a budget by June 20th. Then the mayor's proposed budget becomes the budget on July 1st. We are not in a situation at the municipal level where we can enter any period of our fiscal year or the new fiscal year where we don't have a budget that guides our spending in the city of Frederick. The budget also has to be balanced at every phase of this process. I have to present a balanced budget. If I make changes to the budget through this process, if the council ultimately makes changes or adopts a budget, those budgets have to be balanced. And I'll just say this about what it means to have a balanced budget. We don't know for certain every penny of revenue that's going to come in to the city. And we don't know for certain where every penny we spend is going to go. The budget is, for all intents and purposes, the very best educated guess, and it's a highly educated guess when it comes to both the expenditure and the revenue side, of the dollars that we're going to get and where we think we can best or should best spend those dollars in order to serve the residents of the city of Frederick. This is a visual of that budget process. We're here now at the top with those budget town halls. We are waiting those internal departmental requests to be submitted. We'll make a presentation of our budget to the City Council by the beginning of April. I'm looking at the path in the wrong order. We'll have those review of operating requests in January and February. We'll develop that annual budget, present it to the council by April 1st for their public hearing process, with the adoption of a budget and tax rate before the end of this fiscal year, no later than June 20th. In terms of the role that the mayor and the council each play in the process, just for the sake of clarity for the community, it's important to understand that up until May 14th of every year, and this is again in the city's charter, I can make adjustments to the mayor's proposed budget, and any adjustments that I make to the mayor's proposed budget become the mayor's proposed budget up until the 14th of May. After the 14th of May, all of the responsibility for making changes to the mayor's proposed budget rests with the council. And any change that they make have to balance the budget, and they would normally do that through a motion to adopt the budget or potentially through a series of motions on the night of budget adoption. There are a number of different ways in which the community can engage in the process. We're here at the very beginning, and so this is a first opportunity to weigh in, but we will have a budget feedback form, so as the community thinks about things that are important to them, that feedback form is available on the city's website, and those can be submitted to us. They go to the mayor, they go to the council, they go to the budget office. We all have an opportunity to see what the community is submitting when it comes to budget feedback. Those public hearings and workshops that I mentioned, again, the council will be setting that schedule. Usually happens early in the calendar year, so I would imagine it'll happen in January or February. They'll set that schedule for the budget hearings. And then, of course, one of the changes with the adoption of an at-large and district system in the city of Frederick is we're certainly free to share your budget thoughts with all 7 members of the council. It's important to know that you do have, depending on where you live in the city, a specific person who is your council representative. And I think we would expect that this budget process this year is going to be a little bit different in terms of how the residents may engage with that specific district representative that they have. The last slide that we wanted to provide you is to kind of give you that big overview of where $1 of taxes in the city of Frederick go every year. So the current fiscal year, we are operating with a general fund operating budget of a little over $151 million. Out of that $151 million, if you take $1 in that budget, you can see the different categories of spending. General government, the police department, which gets the biggest piece of that dollar, about 34 cents out of every dollar. Planning, engineering, permits, and inspections. Our operations department within Public Works, Parks and Recreation, Economic Development, Housing and Human Services. Other, we're glad that's a tiny percentage because that's a lot of catch-all things that don't necessarily fit into one of the other categories. Debt service, that's the required payments that we need to make on an annual basis on funds that the city has borrowed for capital projects. And last is the rainy day fund, which you'll see is about 11%. That is another requirement that's in the city's financial policy. So when we adopt a budget, part of that budget has a mandated almost 12% of expenditures set aside. It is a rainy day fund. It is intended to be tapped into only under the most extreme of circumstances. And if we did tap into that, there are specific policies that we have to follow to repay that money. I've used this example in some of our other budget town halls. Since I've been in office, we've experienced catastrophic flooding, significant snow, not Snowmageddon type snow, but significant snow, a global pandemic. We have not had to touch the rainy day fund in the 8 years that I've been mayor. So when we talk about this as being a set aside for emergencies, we really do mean catastrophic emergencies. And this policy, the financial policy that we've adopted in this rainy day fund are one of the reasons why the city is able to maintain a very strong municipal credit rating when it is time for us to borrow money, because our financial policies are really strong and we stick to them. The city's property tax rate on the right side of this slide is at a little over 70 cents. That's a reduction from the property tax rate of the prior year. The percentage of general fund revenue that the city gets from property taxes is high. It's 70%. And that's not because we want it to be high. It's because state law limits the ways in which municipal governments can raise revenue. We are entitled to set a property tax rate. We get a little piece of the income tax, the piggyback income tax, a rate that is not even set by the city. The county sets that rate on our behalf. And miscellaneous fees and other dollars that we can collect through services and programs that we run. The city cannot collect a penny of sales tax. We do not get a penny of excise taxes, alcohol, tobacco, any of those. None of that revenue comes directly back to the city. And that means that we are overly dependent, I would say, on the assessed value of properties in the city of Frederick when it comes to building a budget. And as we talk about housing and housing affordability, and I know it's an issue that's of concern some folks that have already spoken to tonight, but it's something that we've heard a lot over the last 7, 8, 9 months of the campaign. Because we are so dependent on property taxes, how we deal with rising assessments and property taxes and understanding that full cost of what it means to own property is a complicated problem for us to tackle and to unknot. And we would love nothing more than for the Maryland General Assembly to give local governments more authorities to diversify their tax base. If they did, perhaps we could rely on some other sources, take some of that pressure off of the residential property tax rate and the commercial property tax rate as well, but to take pressure off the property tax rate as the primary source of revenue to fund municipal government and municipal services. It's a big overview of kind of the process and where we are. We haven't forged priorities yet, other than things that we've said individually or collectively over the last number of months through a campaign cycle. Tonight is really about hearing from you about what's important for you and what you would like us to keep in mind as we build a budget for fiscal year 2027, which is the fiscal year that starts on July 1st of 2026 that we are talking about today, December 15th, 2025. Sounds like a really complicated calendar with all the numbers and the years, and they don't necessarily line up, but tonight is about giving the folks an overview. Thank you all for being here. We would invite you, if you have something to say with regards to something you want us to think about in terms of the budget. We have a microphone in place. We are taping tonight's town hall and would certainly invite you to, in as orderly a fashion as possible, come to the microphone. We don't really have a timer tonight. This isn't like a formal public hearing. We'll just ask you to be as respectful as possible of others who may wish to speak this evening. And thank you all very much. We're happy to have you here. Don't all rush at once.
Hello and good evening. I'm Marcia Flowers, and I'm with the Maryland Deaf Community Center. My question to you is, I understand that there is a lot of annexes near the city, for example, Bloomfield. And they were formerly county, and now there's some sort of combination, they're county and city. Worman's Mill also used to be county, and now my understanding is that it's county and city as well. In terms of the tax conversation, there are a lot of other communities that are bumped up to the community, or bumped up to the city, such as Crestwood, and I'm realizing they're not part of the city. And so there are several other kind of communities very close to the city that aren't included in this. And why not include some of those communities in the city so that the city could increase that revenue? I know I may make a lot of people mad at me with my comments, but there's that.
So I said earlier that budgets are not intuitive. I will tell you the annexation and growth process of the city of Frederick is certainly not intuitive either. And I will try to be as succinct as I can because it's somewhat complicated. The city of Frederick grows when properties come to the city of Frederick and request to be annexed into the city. We're not out there grabbing up properties that we want to be a part of the city. Property owners petition the city for annexation. A lot of the projects that you've talked about, like Ballinger Creek or Crestwood, because they were able to get development opportunities in the county under the county governments in place at that time, there wasn't really much incentive for them to come to the city and request annexation. And so the reason why properties will come to the city to request annexation is because the opportunity to do more with their property exists in the city where it may not exist in the county because of the respective development laws of the two. And frankly, that requires really good conversations between the city and the county to make sure that our annexation policies and our growth policies are aligned to the counties as well. And prior to, I would say, the last 12 or so years, there was a lot of pendulum swinging on development in the county. And so you would see opportunities where it was very easy for someone to develop in the county, and so they would develop in the county and not annex into the city, and not go through the city's process and not have those residents potentially having to pay city and county taxes. At other times, it's more difficult to develop in the county under those same conditions, and those developers then saw a benefit to come to the city and seek annexation. Once the property is developed, the opportunity for annexation decreases dramatically because you are effectively at that point, when a property is undeveloped, you're not petitioning to raise anyone's taxes except for the person who may own that property. But once you've built 150 or 200 or 400 homes on a piece of land, all of those property owners have something to say about whether or not they get annexed into the city of Frederick, and it would have to go to them for a vote, and the high likelihood is that they would not vote at that point to annex into the city of Frederick, because I don't think they would see the benefit, and they certainly wouldn't see the benefit of them paying more taxes for no additional benefit. So I hope that helps to provide a little bit of an answer. Anyone else with any budget observations, thoughts about what we should include?
Good evening. I'm Ann Ryan, Frederick Housing Solutions Task Force, and I'm excited about the level of energy and commitment and determination that rose up in this election cycle, that there seems to be a vision together of how we can do better. And I think we're at the crossroads of a community vision with our leaders leading us to get there. For example, we have churches in the city that want to be a part of the solution. They have property that they want to use for affordable housing. What can we do to help them do that? We know that there are too many individuals in our city that have nowhere to live. What could we do about single-room occupancy ordinances that would allow more options for them and that they could afford? What could we look at that might be more cottage clusters, tiny homes? Where is there underutilized city property that we might be able to use? But in terms of the budget, they all have budget impacts, but why not set aside some money this budget cycle to demonstrate how it could happen? What could we do together on church property with modular housing and some state and local money to show that we could serve 25 people who didn't have options before, who now could, and show that as a model, and then go to the next church property and show that as a model. There's so many great examples around the country, and I think if we can pin down what we can make happen here, we could really launch something good here, and we could all feel like we are including those that have historically been left out. So, thank you.
Thank you. This is your time. I have nothing else to say, so if no one else has anything else to say, it'll be a really short night.
Good evening. My name is Neil Donnelly, and I'm a Second Street resident. I want to just piggyback. I also am a member of the Housing Solutions Task Force. And I think I appreciate, I do appreciate the council and our new council members and their discussions about housing and the word affordable housing, which I just want to bring up, I think has been hijacked a bit with some of the alphabet soup of LIHTC and AMI, and a lot of different ways that people build affordable housing. And then we have individuals who are working in the city at the new minimum wage and making $25,000 and have no place to live. So we are really wanting to focus on real numbers, which will change as inflation goes. But how do we find solutions for individuals who are working? And unfortunately, some of the chain stores won't give a $15 an hour person 40 hours. So they get 20 and they have to look somewhere else. And so let's say they do get that $25,000, they have no options here in the city. And I think I'd like to share, I shared with the mayor before that Frederick was a model when we built the emergency family shelter. We collaborated with the state on a bond bill. We collaborated with the county on selling some property, and the city donated a house. And that collaboration effort, I think, can be brought into, and I'll use the word affordable housing, but really housing for all. And if we could work on solutions in this budget to do some demonstrations, we can look at bringing solutions that are outside of Frederick into Frederick. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. I do want to correct the record that we didn't donate a house. We sold it to you for $1.
Well, we offered you 5.
So I don't know if this is the right place to ask you, Mr. Mayor, but does everyone here know that we do have a new deaf community center on East Street? And this is a community center for all deaf people in the state of Maryland. And the state of Maryland has 1.2 million deaf people living here in Maryland alone. And so that is part of the reason that we decided to establish this center. And also noticing the lack of services and supports for our senior citizens who are deaf. And so we need this center to specifically support these populations and finding referrals for them, finding different opportunities for meals, transportation, and more resources on housing as well. And so the mayor has been a tremendous help, and we are very thankful to all of the folks who have supported us throughout this journey. We've also written many, many grants, and we've also gotten some money from the state as well. It took us 6 years to get here, and now we do have our building, which was supposed to open in December, but unfortunately we don't have all the funds quite yet. And so we put off our opening date until February. And so my question for you, Mr. Mayor, is that rainy day fund that you mentioned, is it possible that we could ask for a small donation for that fund? Nice try, right, Marcia?
I no sounds harsh. That seems unlikely. But I think you're aware of the community promotions grant process that we have, and other potential opportunities to continue to have conversations about what's possible. The city's been grateful to be a partner in that project up until now, and we're certainly looking forward to the day the doors open.
I just have a quick question that will probably show my ignorance about the school system. I'm wondering if the city has any ways of helping Title I schools inside the city boundaries, or is it just totally hands off for the county nobody touches school system?
No, I think it's a really good question, because while we don't have direct involvement in the funding and oversight of the Frederick County Public School System, a pot of money that we do have available is the funds that we have collected as a result of school mitigation dollars. And so that gives us dollars, mitigation dollars. So there's a requirement that when new development comes on board, that they pay a certain amount per unit. But if, I want to make sure that I explain it as clearly as I can. It's based on the capacity of the school building. And so if they're going to build in an area where the capacity of that school is already over certain thresholds, they would not be able to build except for paying this fee to be able to move their project forward. And the idea then is the fee are funds the city then has available to potentially use to maybe mitigate what that impact could look like. And so we have a number of places where our schools are in excess of 100% capacity, but they don't hit a different magic number of the school system when they would be cut off completely. And the developers who are building homes have the opportunity to pay this fee in lieu of actually building an addition on the school or paying whatever it would to create the actual seats. Those are dollars that the city has at its disposal to have, I think, policy conversations about how we would use those dollars potentially to benefit schools in the city where the impacts of growth may be more acutely observed. And I think our Title I schools might very well be an example of schools that could benefit from some creative problem solving with those dollars. So the city doesn't want to be in the business of building schools, that's what the county does, but this fund does give us a little bit of opportunity to be creative and think innovatively about ways. For example, we used some of that money within the last couple of years to move expansion project at Hillcrest Elementary School up in the county's CIP. So they had it in 1 year. We were willing to put some money from that fund into their CIP. It is kind of us building schools, but what it did was it moved a project sooner than the county was otherwise planning to fund it in their own CIP. So different kind of problem solving.
Is it only to be used for bricks and mortar?
We have not really, I'll be honest, as a city, we've not really explored all of the ways we potentially could use that money. I think we would like, since it's one-time money, I think we'd like to find one-time ways to spend it and not do things that would then require either us or the school system to create a recurring need to put funds in. But I think that's where the conversation about innovation and creativity comes into play.
Say that I love living in Frederick, and it's a wonderful place to be. It has so many lovely aspects in Baker Park and all that. It's wonderful. But it's not wonderful. The roads are falling apart. Not just in downtown. Those of us who drive a lot outside of downtown, I'll cite this. Almond Lane, from Route 40 to Rosemont. My little old model car is shaking my brains out when I drive it. I'm hoping Military Road gets some pavement when we redo the intersection there with Rosemont. 7th Street could use some paint on the lines. You can't. Use some crosswalks. There's a lot of crumbling roads, and those are the heavily traveled roads. I'm not talking about the side streets, residential, but with all the building, lots of heavy trucks and equipment on the roads, lots of more cars. I'm hoping that the budget gets a big lift for DPW transportation. I assume that's where it comes from. And then I'd also like to ask, are you planning to increase the budget for police again this year, the next budget?
noted on the roads. We've heard that at a couple of these town halls already. I've not seen what the police department's budget ask is yet, so it would be premature for me to say whether or not I think, do I think it's likely to go up? Costs are going up everywhere, and so it's one of those things that just,
Is crime going up?
crime is not going up, knock on wood. So we certainly take
We
all.
have had a lot of, and everyone could see in the pie chart or whatever it was, the graph, that we spent a lot of money in police protection and police enforcement. And it has had a significant budget increase the past couple of years. And if we're not experiencing so much more crime, and I understand salaries and all those things increase and why that's a large portion, but there's also other employees within the city government that also don't, it's not as demanding.
Yeah, noted. Thank you.
Anyway, but it is, I love the things that go on, and Frederick is a fantastic place to live, so thank you and the city council and all the city employees who do a great job. They do respond very quickly when you log in an issue, or I found that that's been a real success for me, and keeping up the parks has been a lovely thing, and I hope you continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll use this as an opportunity to make a plug for iSpires. It's an app available in all of the major app stores, and you can download it, and it gives you a really convenient interface to report any kind of issue that you might have, from potholes to police to speeding to parks concerns. iSpires in the App Store.
Good evening. I'm Robert Sharp. I live at 821 North Market Street. We do a loan farm, but she said the infrastructure of roadways in Frederick City, the older part, downtown at the square, going out up to like 14th Street, and out towards the 14th, which includes 7th Street. I don't know why it took 5.5 years to get the lines painted down on that street. Now, the project that was started, I guess it's in your second administration, maybe the first administration, they were redoing the road from Market Street out to the Prairie Shopping Center. It got to Miller Avenue and stopped. It's just been patch after patch after patch all through that point on out. And like I said, I don't know why it takes 5.5 years to put lines. I don't know if we're trying to save money by not doing it, I don't know. And we've had another patch put down since we put the crosswalk. So part of that's all. And it's been over a month, nobody's painted over top of the patch yet. But it's getting to the point where we're living in the city of patches. When you consider all the streets of the old part of Frederick, everybody's been paying their real estate taxes. But we've seen no improvement in the roadways or even proper maintenance of them. I noticed a lot of the, I don't know what the exact code is for curbing, but downtown, everybody took a shortcut for years. You know, paid a little bit, or stop and stare. So there's no curb. When it rains real hard, you're going to flood because you still have a 6-inch curb, you got maybe an inch. It's not holding any word, it's not right over. In some places, there is no curb. And I don't know why that has been. And that's gone on for 20+ years. It's just, detail has not been taken care of on the public streets of Frederick downtown. I don't know if all the money's being spent on new development areas all around. I don't know about that. Maybe that's where the money went. I would like to know what happened to the money we paid, as the downtown part, the old Frederick City has not been maintained properly. Another topic that bugs the heck out of me is the toxicity of the city water. It may pass state, federal regulation. If you have something toxic in there, it should be in there, period. I don't know how much it costs to get it out, but something should be done, and the city keeps growing. I work with biological agents in this. Can't go into a whole lot of detail, but where it's subject, once it's in the water, to get it out isn't easy. I know that. But you go out to the restaurant, you drink in their water, you drink one of the adult beverages that's manufactured in the city, they use the city water, you got toxins in it, and it's being sold. So it's spreading around. You wash your clothes in it, there's a residue, you take a shower in it, take a bath in it, your body's absorbing it when you're in it, taking a shower. And especially for the young kids, babies, the mother would bathe their infants in water that's toxic. There's a long-term result, physical result of having toxin around. Now, I know it's in the air and you can't get it out of that, but at least we can get it out of the water. It's not easy to cross. And another thing that I'd like to try to do, moving on for in the police department, I don't know why we have to do a national find a police chief. It would raise the morale of the people we have. We have an acting police chief now. If he's good enough to be acting chief, he's good enough to be a permanent chief. We've had other ones come in from out of areas to be the police chief for stay up 3 to 5 years as long. I'd rather have somebody that's going to be around for 10 or more years. And it'd be less costly also. It would raise the morale of the police force a lot if they know they get promoted up. I think taking off your time. I don't know if you can answer any of these questions at this point or not.
Thank you for the comments on the roads. As I said, that's a common one. In the interest of full transparency, we produce an annual drinking water quality report every year. It's on the city's website. We can take a conversation offline if there's something specific you're concerned about that's in that report, but that report shows that there is nothing in the city's drinking water that violates drinking water standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency. So I just want to be clear, the city's water is safe to drink. If you have specific concerns, I'm happy to have that conversation, but the annual drinking water report makes that very clear. With regards to the police chief search, it gets billed as a national search, but it is no different than every other open position in the city of Frederick. When we have a vacancy in the city of Frederick, we post those positions publicly for anyone to apply to. We're not using a special entity to go out and recruit nationally. We are posting the job description for our police chief in all of the relevant journals in the same way that if we had a planning director, we'd post that position in all the places where planning directors look for planning jobs. And if there is someone in the department that meets the requirements labeled in the job description and they are the best candidate, we will hire them. It's as simple as that. And you're going to use it, right?
Gail Peterson, MAC 6-9 coordinator, and the passion of my heart is the safety of the neighborhoods. So that is what that entails is, the crumbling infrastructure of the older neighborhoods. I'm very grateful. Grateful, I'm not sure is the word. I'm happy to see the projects that have been done over the course of the last 18 to 24 months. Even though I had a conversation the other day with Zach Kirshner that, this is temporary. Rosemont is a temporary fix until the bigger projects are coming in. It makes a huge difference. And I really do think, when I came in tonight, our district, our council person, said, where's all the neighborhood, Gail? We were hoping that you were going to bring the neighborhood with you. And engagement is the second part of the thing that's not passion. Okay? We have to be able to engage. And the iSpires, I still haven't downloaded that, but I will commit to doing it, okay, and see how easy it is, because sometimes I don't love technology. I'd much rather have actually gotten bigger. There's been more people engaged over the last couple of years, and I was encouraged to hear you say that that's part of your agenda this year, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about how we can engage more with the city. Because I do think that there's been a lot of excitement over this past year, people wanting to engage with the residents. And just my level, communications, that's a lot of people, many people don't feel heard. Now, that might be different than what you hear on a different level, but when I'm sitting at Parkway Elementary School, and we're talking about the same thing over and over and over again, and there's no answer that I can provide, or there doesn't seem to be a solution to, there's just no communication. People feel like they're not being heard. So, and you and I have had that conversation a couple of times, and I appreciate that you're listening to that. So the budget, whatever the budget can, where on the slide on the snake did the, or on the, where, no, it was the next one, where the money is broken down. Where is the NAC in there? Under what plans does the NAC fall under?
General government, probably. I think that's what I heard you say,
Okay,
which sounds right to me.
General government. So I know in the last couple of budget cycles, and I'm grateful for this because this is not something that I've dived into at all, so I look forward to getting educated on this. You know, I know that the NACs have $1,000 a year in the budget, so that's, there's 12 NACs, it's $12,000 allotted, right, for stuff that we can, that our neighborhood can do. But communication is where? The communications department.
That's going to be in general government as well.
Okay. So, I guess I'm just asking, for a way to bridge residents to the city and the city back to the residents. And I think the NAC, you know how I feel about the NACs, and I'm hoping that we can continue to evolve the NAC back into not even what it was, maybe something new. There's a lot of people in the city, and you know, if 20 people show up for a meeting every other month, there's so many other people that are never getting any of this information. And I want to find a way to communicate. So, however that has to happen. I don't know where the money gets allotted or how, you know, the technology works and stuff, but engaging. And I do think that it's the city's responsibility to be talking out, not talking at, but talking out. And doing things like this, Mayor O'Connor, is really important, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you. I will put in a plug on the NACs that Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, the council is going to be having a work session to hear and dive into some of that NAC advisory committee that we put together to make recommendations, to hear some of those recommendations and to talk about what happens next. So,
I'm not joking.
Is that a public meeting?
It is public. It is a public meeting.
it's a public meeting. Yeah, that will be at City Hall at 6 o'clock. As in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this week, the 18th. Sure.
This is just following up on what mentioned before. If the technology for the police department, so that's the big chunk of the budget. I don't know if they're looking into the new tech that they have, where you have robots going out, monitoring what's going on in neighborhoods, that would increase safety, and also they would cut down these people running the red lights. I don't know what they're doing.
What-
The technology's there, whether it is, you can get 3 of these units for the price of an office.
We use red light cameras and speed cameras in the city of Frederick. I'm a big fan of automated enforcement. We can only use them according to how state law is presently written, and so we're looking to find out if there's ways in which we can rewrite the state law to give us a little bit more local authority to deal with some of these issues using technology as a solution.
Well, the reason why I say that, because almost every time I go out, even for a few minutes driving time, I see somebody run a red light or blow around to a stop sign. They just slow down enough to make a turn. And that's it.
We can't do stop sign cameras, but I would like the authority to place them. The state has to give us that permission.
But there's no way to use any other tech.
There's all kinds of technology. We can't use technology that the state law doesn't authorize us to use.
And, well, all right, when the officer writes a ticket for somebody running a red light or stop sign, does the city get any of that tax dollars or all go to the state?
If it's a violation of state motor vehicle law, that revenue goes to the state.
So the city gets
There's no perverse fiscal incentive for our police officers to write more tickets other than to keep our roads safe. We don't get money from that. That's the myth of the end of the month quote is a myth. It's not a thing.
you can't get something like that.
What the state will say is that there's a formula that drives something called state aid for police protection. It's formula driven based on the size of your department, and so we get an allocation. It's in the revenue line of like those other things. It's other money that comes back to the city. So the state will say that, well, you get some of that ticket because we give you state aid for police protection. The same way the state will say, well, you get the sales tax because we give you, money for projects, or you get a piece of the gas tax because we share our highway user revenue with you as a local government. Big difference between us being able to get that directly as an allocation into our budget versus having to go to Annapolis, go through whatever that process is to get, even with a formula, to get spit back out to us. So, thank you. We're recording, so we just want to make sure everybody can hear you.
But you do get money from the state from income tax.
We do.
Okay.
We do
You
it.
don't show any of the income tax you collect. Is that, I guess that's the other
That's,
taxes. Because I know I pay county and city taxes for income.
yes. So what's being clarified, these are expenses of where the money goes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And 69% of general fund revenue comes from real estate taxes. Another 14% of revenue comes from other taxes, and that would be those income taxes, yes. Anyone else wish to offer any input or thoughts on the city's budget as we head into budget season? I'll give you 3 bites at the apple, but that's it.
I didn't want to be the last one, but 2 things. I love Frederick. I've lived here for 50 years. I remember in 1981, there were the KKK at the courthouse, and I was shocked, coming from Illinois, what they were wearing, and now things have changed. Maybe they're still around, but anyway, I love Frederick City. Thank you for all your hard work. But my question is, I'm concerned about ICE. gotten any warning of ICE coming to Frederick? Are they around? Should we be concerned? I've heard of ICE popping up in other places, but I'm curious about Frederick City.
I am aware that they have done activity in the county, but I will tell you is that we're not on their speed dial list. We're not being notified in advance if they are coming to town or anything that they're doing. We're not asked to participate with them, and we would not, but we're not notified of their activities in advance of them doing whatever it is that they're doing. Anyone else? We'll make this the last call.
I just would like to ask that the council, and as you look at this budget, that look at the impact of some decisions that are being made at HUD in the federal, particularly on permanent supportive housing vouchers. I think we have about 70 some in the county city, and they are getting cut, proposed to be cut by about 70%. These are the most vulnerable homeless individuals. And if those funds are cut, there needs to be some safety net to ensure that those individuals are not unhoused.
I will tell you those conversations are already happening. Thank you. Going once. Gail, you know all you have to do is walk up the block, knock on the front door.
It's interesting to me, the city-run food bank. Where does that fall in? And are you planning to
Housing and Human Services.
Houses and Human Services? So, because it's hard on the website to figure out how to donate personally to help that. I can't seem to figure out how to do that, but I'd like to see those
We will
types-
make sure we make that easier if it's not. We certainly,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that's such a great program to have. And then, the various, the food bank over on, is it All Saints, I believe?
Yeah, there's
And then-
one on All Saints Street and one out at the Trinity Recreation Center on New
Right,
Design Road.
And so I just think that's a great thing for the city to support. And I hope they continue to.
And I'm reasonably certain that both of those locations accept donations. And if the website doesn't make it clear of the times that people can drop off donations, we'll check it out and make sure that we
I
can.
take food there regularly. In fact, all of us should buy some every time we shop for ourselves.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate you being here this evening and sharing your perspectives on the city and our budget process. As we laid out on the slide about future opportunities, please pay attention as the council sets its workshop and hearing schedule into the spring. Watch for that budget presentation to come at the beginning of April, and look forward to continued dialogue. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day.